Apart from the Austin Healey 3000, this is my all-time favourite British car, the 1936 MGTA. The watershed of MG's early years came in 1935, when the company's guardian, Lord Nuffield, transferred its ownership to the new Vass Nuffield organisation. At the same time, his managing director, Len Lord, disagreed that future MG sports cars should use many more off-the-shelf components than before. One early result was the launch of the TA, the first of a long successful line of T-Series cars, which launched MG even faster down the road to worldwide fame. Longer, wider, heavier but simpler than the PB model, which it replaced, the TA was a classic MG sports car, and very pretty too. Although it was built around a simpler ladder-style chassis frame and had a body shell assembled around a wooden frame, both of which were traditional MG in every way. The TA's real innovation, as far as the customers were concerned, was in its engine and transmission. For the first time in 8 years, this was an MG without an overhead camshaft engine, and it was also the first to have a synchromesh as opposed to a crash gearbox. The TA, in fact, had been laid out in the Nuffield design offices when the engineers had chosen to use modified versions of the latest Morris/Wolseley engines and running gear. According to the traditionalists, who were wrong, this ruined the MG's character, but Nuffield's plans produced a car that was simpler, faster and more reliable than before. Before long, the TA was selling faster than previous MGs, and only one looked at its style spelt out the reason. Here was a two-seater car, with all the established sweeping front wings, proud freestanding headlamps, and an unmistakable radiator grille. Not only the first midget to have a cockpit large enough for two adults, and the GIs absolutely loved them. Although the 1292cc engine was neither as specialised nor as high-revving as its predecessors, it developed the goods. For this was the fastest midget yet in some ways. It was almost an embarrassment for MG, little slower than the six-cylinder midgets, which were still available. Came all the expected feelings: a rock-hard ride, sensitive steering, sketchy all-weather equipment, and a tendency to leak water in heavy rainstorms. But no one seemed to care. Like earlier midgets, this was a car with a heart and a soul, which seemed to relate to every owner's yearnings. The TA set MG on a new sports car path, for the re-engined TB took over successfully in 1939, and the TC, a lightly modified TB, would be a huge success in the late 1940s. It was a very important midget before the arrival of the TA. MG's commercial failure had been in doubt, but afterwards the subject was never mentioned again. MGTA, years in production, 1936 to 39. Structure: front engine, rear drive, separate chassis. Engine type: 4-cylinder overhead valve, bore and stroke. 63.5 times 102mm. Capacity: 1292cc. Power: 50 British horsepower at 4,500 revs per minute. Fuel supply: 2 horizontal SU carburetors. Suspension: beam front axle, beam rear axle. Weight: 1,765 pounds. Top speed: 78 miles per hour. Looks like it could go a hell of a lot faster downhill.